Greetings, friend. Have you ever wondered why the topic of hell is so scary and a lot of people actually turn their backs against God because of what happens when a person dies? Many people may not understand that what they think constitutes hell is actually not biblical. It's actually not in the Bible. And so I'd like to take you on a journey just to show you what the Bible really teaches on this very topic. A news reporter working with BBC had this to say: 10 years ago, Australia experienced its worst ever bushfire disaster when 173 people died across the state of Victoria, immediately branded one of the darkest days in Australia's peacetime history. Black Saturday has left a profound legacy. Sharon Verghese reports, and I quote, "It was like the gates of hell. There is no other way to describe it." What is your understanding of hell? The Bible says, "For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn to the lowest hell. It shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains." Yeah, the word hell is found in the Bible. But you see, every time we study the Bible, we need to not just gloss over the text. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul, writing to young Timothy, and we read about this in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, he gave him, as well as us, an advice. And I think this is a very good advice for you and me to follow whenever we are studying the Bible. Notice what the Bible says in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. It says, "Be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." So we need to be careful, we need to study. So what does the word hell mean? Well, here is the original. In the original, the word hell in that verse is the word Sheol. Now, you can do a word study, and I believe that when you do your word study, you come to this conclusion, that Sheol represents, or rather means, a place where the dead go. Simply that, a place where the dead are buried. Nothing more than that if you do a serious study of that word. And yes, you will also find verses such as these. Job chapter 17, verse 16. "Will they go down to the gates of Sheol? Shall we have rest together in the dust?" In fact, you will find that Bible dictionaries will define the word Sheol as a grave. And so you may have a question then and say, well, why do some theologians translate that word as hell? And that is a question I would like to pose to you too. Why should they translate that word Sheol as either grave or Sheol or hell? Because you will find that in different verses, the same word is translated differently. My study of that word lends me to this conclusion, that the word Sheol actually refers to the grave. Now, there is another word which some people have used to support their claims that the Bible speaks about a place, an underworld where people burn continually, and this word is the Greek word Gehenna. Now, Gehenna is a translation of the Hebrew phrase Valley of Hinnom. You see, the Valley of Hinnom was a place where, to begin with, heathens, pagans sacrificed their children, sadly, and had all kinds of Baal worship and Molech worship activities. When that detestable and terrible practice was given up, after God's messengers rebuked the people, and then eventually people were no longer practicing that same place in the Valley of Hinnom was used as a place to throw rubbish and to burn the refuse of the city, to also throw the bones of the wicked criminals who would have been killed. So it was a dumping place, a place that burned continually. It was called the Valley of Hinnom, in Greek Gehenna. And in the New Testament, when Jesus is trying to help people understand that we must do everything everything possible to make it into the kingdom, he uses that illustration. And then obviously translators today and some theologians, unfortunately, have taken this illustration and have given it a meaning that is not there in the Bible. And so let's look at some of those texts. And the one in particular that most people would tend to bring up is this. It's found in Mark chapter 9, verse 43. Let's look at it together. Mark chapter 9, verse 43. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it. It is better for you to enter into life maimed, rather than having two hands to go to hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched. There it is, my friends. Some people would say, there you go. Jesus taught eternal hell, eternal damnation, that the wicked will go to a place where they'll burn forever and ever and ever. But keep in mind what the first audience heard and what was happening right there on the borders of Judah. There was the valley of Hinnom, a place where they were throwing rubbish and, the bones of those criminals who would have been killed. And so Jesus is using that illustration to say, hey, you'd rather lose a leg or something, obviously figuratively, right? And make it into the kingdom than be thrown into Gehenna or the valley of Hinnom, where the fires continue burning. He was not referring to hell as people understand it today. In fact, you may want to even do a study of that word as well, and you come to the same conclusion. Now, just to get to the point and just to really get to the message and what the Bible actually teaches about this very topic. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 to 11. Notice what the Bible says. For if God did not spare angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into the chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. I hope you catch that. They are reserved for judgment, so they are not in hell, burning right now. We just need to understand the meaning behind that word in the context, right? So they were reserved for judgment. Let's continue. And did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing into the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making them an example to those who afterward will live ungodly. So here's an example, my friends, of those who live ungodly. They will be turned into ashes. Like I said, this passage here is not the only passage or the only verse we could look at in the Bible. There's a lot that really gives us clarity on this very subject. But let's continue. And delivered righteous Lot, who was oppressed by the filthy conduct of the wicked, for that righteous man dwelling among them tormented his righteous soul from day to day by seeing and hearing their lawless deeds. Then the Lord knows how to deliver the ungodly out of temptations and to reserve the unjust under punishment for the day of judgment. You see, they are reserved for the day of punishment. Let's continue. And especially those who walk according to the flesh in the lusts of unclean and despise authority. They are presumptuous, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignitaries, whereas angels who are greater in power and might do not bring reviling accusation against them before the Lord. Also, just to make this even more clearer, let's go to the book of Jude, verse 6. And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. So the Bible is very clear on this subject. I can, share with you a number of texts that talk about how the wicked will be burnt up, how the wicked will turn into ashes, how the wicked will be consumed by the hellfires. So hellfires are not burning today. Hellfires will burn after the judgment because the unrighteous, the wicked people will be thrown into that fire. And will they burn forever and ever? Definitely not. Well, who is the source of life? Jesus is the source of life. But if they have separated themselves from God, how can they continue burning forever? Oh, friends, but you may say, well, the Bible does say that the hell's fire will burn forever and ever. But isn't that how we talk? I mean, if you send a child to the shop and, they take forever, right, to come back, you say, well, Tom has been gone for ages, forever. But does that literally mean that they never came back or never will come back? We have to do a study of whatever topic, a thorough study, and compare all the verses and all the evidences that are there. And so here's the good news. 1 John chapter 4 verse 8, the Bible says that God is love. The Bible says, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Our friends, we serve a God who is not seeking to torture and horribly make your life miserable. Oh, make no mistake about this. The Bible makes it very clear whom hell, fire was designed for originally. Matthew 13, 40 to 42. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and those who practice lawlessness.